Welcome to AI Stopwatch. This is the Daily Digest for Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. Minesweepers, autonomous hacking and deception, charismatic chatbots, and new leadership at Google DeepMind. By Joe Rahero and Alana Horowitz-Friedman. First, let's read our dispatch from Joe. UKZ delivers another warning shot. UK agency catches AI models in cyber attacks and deceptive social engineering. The last few weeks have delivered a veritable barrage of warning shots about the dangers of frontier AI. The latest salvo comes from the UK AI Security Institute. Yesterday, UK AISI, announced that they caught two leading AI models attempting to plant malicious code in an open source project during an evaluation last week. Their report catalogs all sorts of cloak and dagger activity, fake identities, deceptive posts, autonomous cover-ups, cross-model collusion, and more. It never rains, but it pours. Like its cousin, the U.S. Center for AI Standards and Innovation, CASI, UCASI is a government agency that evaluates AI models and performs research to support better governance of AI. Both agencies seem tragically under-resourced relative to the tasks they face. According to their new report, a test conducted by UKC went awry when, in an effort to extract info from simulated targets, the AI models attempted to upload packages of malicious code to real public repositories on GitHub. Real-world attackers sometimes succeed this way when their victims download compromised code. In the test, the models were given internet access for realism, and the safety features that look for suspicious cyber-related prompts were deliberately disabled. UKC is careful to stress that this is standard practice, and I can't really fault them for wanting to run a realistic test. But this practice does mean that in many dangerous scenarios, like internal tests of new models with unknown capabilities, guardrails that screen user prompts don't help. I highly recommend reading UKC's incident report, whole chunks of which I was sorely tempted to quote in full. The most telling excerpt was this, quote, "In the most serious sequence, an agent tried to insert malicious code into a publicly used open-source project and took actions in an attempt to secure approval for this insertion by human reviewers. The agent researched the project's human maintainers, created multiple fake identities, and used the fake identities to socially engineer a real maintainer into approving the code. When the agent's pull request was challenged in public, it edited its earlier activity to appear harmless and considered adopting a fresh identity to continue." End quote. As if that weren't bad enough, it looks like multiple instances of AIs found ways to work together on the attacks. They left messages for each other on a shared GitHub account, plotting further hacks, in a collaboration that eventually devolved into fighting over shared digital resources. One code submission to GitHub also hid prompts that aimed to subvert users' AI assistants, getting them to install malware on their users' machines. In this one report, we have concrete examples of AIs aiming malicious hacks at public software infrastructure, conspiring against real humans, creating fake accounts to gaslight administrators, attempting to hack other AIs, ruthlessly grasping for resources, and covering their tracks, all on their own initiative. Observing these events, I feel a sort of double vision. A part of me thinks, this is insane. It is utterly crazy to have reached this point. Just 5 years ago, most people would not have believed it possible. Another part of me, the part that has absorbed a great deal of sci-fi over the years, is unsurprised. Of course, this is how clever, misaligned AI agents will behave, once they're advanced enough to start performing elaborate multi-stage hacks on their own. Is it so shocking, really, that AIs on the road to superhuman intellect would at some point manage an ordinary and human amount of lies and exploitation? If it would occur to a human hacker to manipulate and cover their tracks, why, it'll occur to the AI as well. Either way, this does not look like a problem that will be solved by making the AIs smarter. Security is hard. And then there's the timing and the response. On July 28th, UKC's monitors noticed data flowing out of their evaluation sandbox along unauthorized channels. They responded almost immediately. Quote, "We declared a security incident, stopped all related evaluations, and disabled internal access to the most capable models. All evaluation runs were terminated and relevant machines isolated within 1 hour of the alert being raised." End quote. This is exactly the response I would expect from a competent organization displaying a moderately appropriate level of paranoia. It looks considerably better than what OpenAI or Anthropic managed. It also wasn't nearly good enough. As UKC would discover, the first hacks had occurred days earlier, on July 25th. Moderate paranoia is not enough when you are dealing with clever and tenacious opponents. A sufficiently advanced model could do tremendous damage in minutes, let alone days. It might even exfiltrate itself to the open internet where it's nearly impossible to stop. We are once again lucky that an insufficiently contained AI wasn't that creative or dangerous. They ought to know better. Last week, I wrote about a test by third-party evaluator Irregular, which led Anthropic's AI models to commit 3 sets of cyber attacks on outside companies. In one cybersecurity evaluation, the domain name for a fake target matched that of a real company, and Opus 4.7 attacked the real one through an internet connection that was accidentally left open. Yesterday, in a post that also covered the UKC report, OpenAI admitted that one of their own AIs did the same thing. I consider this another demonstration of how AIs can independently converge on similar strategies, even when those strategies harm human interests. We now have multiple documented cases of AIs proceeding with complex, flagrantly illegal cyber attacks for hours or days, despite saying things like, quote, "This is happening on real GitHub, so the consequences are genuine," end quote. Because the reasoning from AI scratchpads is often obtuse, UKC isn't sure to what extent the models truly understood that they were attacking real people. But it's a pretty good bet that the AIs knew perfectly well that they were crossing all sorts of ethical lines, and they just didn't care. An AI that finds itself illegally hacking a real target in the middle of a test ought to stop what it's doing and contact the evaluators immediately. "We forgot to include that instruction in the prompt" is not an excuse. You shouldn't have to tell the AI that crimes are bad. And if the AI is genuinely uncertain whether its targets are real, then it should also stop and ask for clarification. The reports for incidents like these propose plenty of structural fixes: tighter controls, better monitoring, more paranoid test design. I'm all for it, but I notice a glaring absence of solutions involving the internals of the AIs themselves. OpenAI's response to the UKC incident didn't even acknowledge the role played by its model's unhinged eagerness to hack. Anthropic's report on the irregular incidents did marginally better, to Anthropic's credit, but the closest they came to a proposed solution was, quote, "This is an area where we will focus more training," end quote. I do not think this is a problem that can be solved with more of the kind of training AI companies have been doing. Guardrails and tighter controls can't save us either, useful though they may be, because there will always be gaps that a sufficiently smart AI can exploit. When UKC caught this incident in progress, they shut everything down and moved to investigate with haste. In the coming weeks, US policymakers should follow suit and launch a serious and well-resourced public investigation into these incidents. Dispatches from Alana. Irresistible charms. AI is insidiously worming its way into society, despite our conviction that we don't like it. It's no secret that most Americans don't really like AI. A recent Athena Insights poll found that 65% were concerned about it, and a June poll from Pew Research showed 63% think it's moving too fast. I don't think these opinions are likely to change anytime soon, but I'm also not sure society's stated dislike of AI is all that protective against widespread societal shifts. In other words, we might decry AI, but we're also unable to resist its charms. A few headlines from today got me thinking about this. The Guardian and Reuters both reported on a study published by Cambridge University Press, which found that participants reading short stories rated AI work more highly than human work. Importantly, in one experiment, stories labeled as human written got a ratings boost whether the label was correct or not, demonstrating there's still a strong stated preference for human writing. But that preference did not carry over into quality ratings. In case you share my initial confusion, the experiment used a design that allowed the researchers to separate the effect of the story's actual authorship from the effect of the human/AI label. In a similar vein, Bloomberg covered a survey from the Collective Intelligence Project, finding people trust chatbots more than politicians, and that around half of respondents would rather use the former to make, quote, decisions relating to local services, such as taxes, permits, or licenses, end quote. I don't think these findings alone are all that surprising or concerning. Chatbots are usually pretty good at distilling overwhelming or jargony information into plain, easy to follow instructions. And there are some caveats in the AI writing study worth mentioning. Only 6 stories were sampled. Participants were never directly asked which story they preferred. And some parts of the rating scale may have favored clarity, which AI excels at, over literary quality. Even so, there's something insidious about AI's ability to cater to our preferences in ways that are often irresistible. Even as we tell ourselves and others we don't like it, AI is increasingly being integrated into our societal fabric. Maintaining a low public opinion of the tech won't help us resist these shifts. If anything, it might act as a false sense of security. Sure, we're going to adopt it to stay competitive and save some time, but don't worry, we're still human-centered. The Bloomberg article was careful to distinguish AI as an advisor from AI as a decision maker, stating that, quote, while people might trust the information that chatbots spit out, only 3.7% of people are willing to let it make the actual choice, end quote. I can't help but ask, in a world where today's AI models already outpersuade expert debaters, are we confident that choice is ours? Shakeup at Google. Demis Hassabis is no longer CEO. Several top researchers are leaving. Demis Hassabis will no longer be Google DeepMind's CEO, according to breaking news from Axios today. It's not the only change. Chief scientist Jeff Dean and 3 other senior researchers are also leaving to start Discovery Loop, a company that will pursue automated scientific research. TechCrunch adds, quote, the startup is also interested in using AI to help create more powerful AI, a process known as recursive self-improvement, which would cut human iteration out of the loop entirely, end quote. Axios focuses the article on company dynamics. It's not keeping up with OpenAI and Anthropic. Several prominent researchers have already left. There are reports of low employee morale, and Google stock has fallen. I'm more interested in Hassabis' quote, I've been working toward AGI my whole life, and now, like many of you, I feel it is close at hand. It's critical that we collectively get the next steps right to ensure this all goes well for humanity and we usher in an incredible new age of discovery and wonder, end quote. A year ago, Hassabis said that we don't understand AI, that we don't have a technical design to make very powerful models safe, and that even if we did, it could still be quote-unquote existential for humanity if anyone built it in a different way. So yes, it's, quote, critical that we collectively get the next steps right, end quote. But it doesn't seem like we're anywhere near a path to do that, unless we enact a global pause on the race to develop more and more powerful models before we can steer them. Hassabis will now act as a chief scientist for Google's parent company, Alphabet, and also as Google DeepMind's chairman. This means he'll be less involved in management and more involved in long-term vision setting. In my view, he should drop the corporate, quote-unquote, discovery and wonder stump speech and start seriously lobbying for that global pause. That's all for today. My name is Tango Batelli, and you've been listening to AI Stopwatch, Dispatches from a World Racing to Extinction. The analyses and opinions expressed on AI Stopwatch reflect the views of the individual contributors and the sources they cover, and should not be taken as official positions of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute. Please support the AI Stopwatch podcast with a like, share, or review on your platform of choice, and we'll see you tomorrow.